Adults who admittedly peaked in high school. What's life like for you now? Story 1. Last year at a wedding reception, I ran into a guy who played basketball at our high school 10 years ago. He held the school record for most points scored in a game, somewhere in the 30s. I don't remember. Anyway, a friend and I were talking with him next to the bar. And he says, man, I miss high school. It used to be every Friday night all these people would come, watch me play, and cheer me on. It was the best. I miss those days. So what are you up to now? Oh, just working at the car wash. My dad gave it to me. You should come by sometime. They'll give you a free wash. Business must be going good for you then. No, not really. That sucks. Yeah, it is what it is anyway. And go grab another drink. It was nice catching up with you guys. He leaves later on. Another classmate of ours tells us that the guy just tipped the waitress with some car wash tokens and asked for her number. We mentioned our conversation about high school basketball. Oh yeah, he doesn't stop talking about that. Reflecting on that conversation, I remember when I was younger and one of the popular kids would pick on me. Adults told me not to be jealous of them because it wouldn't last. I hoped it to be true, but having experienced the moment 10 years later, I just feel sorry for the guy. Story 2, all right, considering there are only 2 comments and nobody has actually posted a story yet. Here's one about my uncle. In high school, he was extremely popular, football star and captain. Apparently, he could get any girl and was a smooth talker. He got into drugs shortly after graduating, this is in the 70s, and quickly flunked out of college. He continued his party lifestyle until it ran him into the ground. Now, he's pretty much mentally handicapped and can hardly have a conversation for more than 5 minutes. My whole family sees him as a burden and tries to ignore him as much as possible. It's sad because he is such a nice person and wants everyone to be happy. He got the idea that people don't want him around, so he lives alone and keeps to himself. I only ever see him at Christmas, so I always make it a point to include him and talk to him. I will call him on occasion, and it always makes his day. It's a sad, lonely life, but he never got the support or help he needed at it. Thank for all the kind words. I'm going to call him a day after work and see how he is doing. I'm sure that will make his day. Story 3. Peaked. Let me tell you something. I haven't even begun to peak, and when I do peak, you'll know because I'm going to peak so hard that everybody in Philadelphia is going to feel it. Story 4. This is probably going to get lost in the comments. But this isn't me, it's someone I know, and this very question just sends tingles up my spine and immediately made me think of him. He's a family friend, and he was an awesome all-around guy. Captain of the football team, president of the debate club, prom king, high school jock, valedictorian, legitimately the perfect dude you could think of. Looks, money, brains, talent. Dude was made to practically make it big in his high school years. His superlative, most likely to be successful. His teachers and principal all thought he was going to be a future president of the U.S. Unfortunately, he was into weed heavily, graduated, and went to school for business, got kicked out because of possession. That's not all, but he started doing hard drugs, whatever he could get his hands on, for what I know. Life went into the hardest spiral downward I've seen. Got into an accident driving drunk against a stone wall, totaled his car, and got a metal brace in place of his femur. I think currently, the dude is in rehab. Mentally unstable to talk of anything significant with anyone. Constantly ruins his dad's hard-earned reputation and is treated like a 12-year-old. Blows the little money his parents have on getting the next high. Neighbors hate him, community hates him, and still is set on becoming the next president. He's 30 years old, still thinking he's going to run the world. No job, nothing to his name, no qualifications, yet he still thinks he runs the world. So sad to see. Story 529 male. Until recently, high school was the peak of my life. In high school, I was good-looking, popular, athletic, and a decent student. My parents were rich, and I had a BMW. I played varsity soccer all 4 years at a school of 2,500 kids and was recruited by Division I schools all over the country. College was a good experience as well until the very end, when I realized I was not good enough to become a pro soccer player. I graduated with a communications degree because I had no idea what I wanted to do. Big mistake. After college, I had a horrible time finding a job. I ended up working the front desk at the gym near my parents' house for 3 years. I would open the gym at 5 a.m. 5 days a week. A lot of the people that came in would be people I knew in high school. Sometimes they would act like they didn't know who I was in order to avoid an awkward situation, which just made it worse. There was a girl that I went to a dance with sophomore year that would come in every morning. My job is to greet anyone that walks in. So the first few times I would say hi name, and she would swipe her card and completely ignore me. At a certain point, my parents stopped helping me with money, and I couldn't afford to fill my gas tank. I would ride my old bike from when I was a little kid to work. Sometime rain, snow, whatever. Then my father was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and died within 4 months. He was very successful, but not the greatest with money. To help my mom pay bills, I sold his car, his vacation home, and had her drop their country club membership. One day, my uncle decided to take me to lunch to discuss my future. I'm actually tearing up about writing this part. He had to contact a local tech company that had a few openings for customer service reps. I didn't even ask what it paid. I interviewed for it and was hired. It paid $25K, and to me, that was a ton of money. 5 years later, I still work at that company and moved up to an engineering position after passing certifications. I have a beautiful wife and daughter, and we live in a nice little house. Edit, thank you all for the comments. Story 6, I don't like to think you peak once in your lifetime. Life is a series of up and downs. So if you're reading this thinking you've peaked, you can always turn around. My friend thinks she peaked in high school, but I'm still holding out hope for her. Yes, she was the top academically, athletically, socially, but what followed was a series of medical conditions, depression, feeling hopeless, losing interest and passion. Some days she feels better, some days she doesn't. And that's okay. I hope one day she can again feel like she's happy. There are many years left for your life. There are many years to find a new peak, and life is about the journey. Don't give up. Where's Yumadave Tingaruf? Edit, thanks to whomever touched me with their golden finger. It made my day. I hope the karma passes on to you in real life. Story 7, I'm 30 years old and only now getting close to where I was in high school. I was a track star, school records, state championships, 11 varsity letters, and academic standout, voted most likely to get a perfect SAT score, entered college with 52 credit hours from AP classes. I also had a great group of friends and a couple of attractive girlfriends I went back and forth between. Senior year, I developed a series of stress fractures that ended my track career. All the Ivy League schools that had been recruiting me stopped calling. I reacted by basically giving up on everything. I threw myself wholeheartedly into smoking pot all the time and skipping class. While I had the grades and reputation to coast for a while, I had completely used up all my momentum by the time I got to college, and college really sucked for me. By the time I got there, I was burnt out on anything resembling effort or success, and thought I could maintain the same reputation I had in high school by just sitting around my dorm room, getting stoned, waiting for my girlfriend to come visit on the weekends. I didn't make friends, didn't go to class, lost my GF, and developed crippling anxiety and depression. From there, I spent the next 5 or 6 years completely embracing mediocrity, dead-end jobs, way too much pot, no ambition whatsoever, yada yada yada, self-loathing, and the reality of a service industry lifestyle eventually lit a fire under my. Went back to school, got a master's degree in applied mathematics, and now have a great job in finance. Things are definitely looking up for me, but I still have "Don't Give Up Again" written on the top of my bulletin board. Story 8, the 50 Cent line. Damn homie. In high school, you as the man homie will forever haunt me. Other than that, you really just go from shark in a koi pond to a minnow in the ocean. You can either dwell on the glory years or move on with your life and make some new ones. Story 9, I guess I peaked in high school. Had a ton of friends, popular, great grades, was on a varsity team, dated my first girlfriend. My best friends are still the friends I made in high school. In college and afterwards, I never met anyone as cool, great as them. I'm kind of lost in life right now. I'm 24 and no idea what I want to do with my life. I miss my best friends. I miss having no responsibility. I miss Fridays after school where we would all pile into one car and take on the world and chase girls and play video games and do nothing. I miss all that so much. Story 10, I may have peaked in HS. Not quite sure. I was pretty popular, had a girlfriend always, but more importantly, people wanted to hang with me and be my friend. I always had plans. I always had a smattering of people to do something with and a variety of potential plans every weekend. Then came college. I went to a school I didn't really like, made some friends, but never had a close-knit crew. Study abroad was the best semester I ever had, and I still keep in touch with many of those people, but don't see them as we're spread across the U.S. now. And getting older, I'm 29. I have a great girlfriend. We will very likely get married and have been together a long while, so I don't get bummed over not being able to get girls, but prior to her, it was pretty rough and inconsistent after high school. But the real reason I feel I peaked is that I just don't have friends and can't make them. My girlfriend's friend from college are all great. We get along and like each other, but they never call me. I never call them. We converse but don't get close, but that is my most frequented social scene, I think. I have issues with work, 2 weeks unemployed right now. The bottom of my job essentially fell out, but that's for another thread, and even when I was working, it wasn't a job that provided me with much of social outlet. I don't know that I've peaked. Certainly I have a lot going for me, and I am happy. But I used to be popular, make and keep friends, have things to do, be invited places, and feel like people wanted to spend time with me. Therefore, I would spend time with people. Now, despite having some friends, really great ones too, I just feel lonely and uncool and excluded. I feel, and thanks to social media, know that the people who I do spend time with are often doing fun things and getting together and not even thinking of inviting or getting in touch with me. And I can't bring myself to pathetically invite myself along all the time. Is that what peaking is? Story 11. This sums up my dad and his sisters. High school was as good as it got, and they spent all the years following it celebrating graduation day. Everything was about partying, drugs, music, drinking, and doing it all again. Now 2 of them are dead, both died at 51, and the sole survivor. My aunt has a weird form of leukemia due to snorting dirty crank. Not sure what her life expectancy is, but she probably has a decade or so left of partying. When I talk to any of them, all they talk about was the glory days of high school, and all the partying and up they did. I always felt like it was sad and felt bad for them. It is hard to describe what a lifetime of partying, drinking, smoking, and doing drugs does to a person. They look totally worn out and dead inside. Story 12. Hate to do it, but this isn't about me. I graduated 4 years ago. Several months ago, my very good platonic friend invited me to a huge benefit dinner for a company he interned for, and he had a +1 because he helped plan it. Very fancy, in the city from the suburbs we lived in. On our way there, we realized we didn't have any cash, so we stopped at a Wawa to get some just-in-case tips for the bar. We enter the store, and the first thing I see is our prom queen and the star quarterback trying to calm down a screaming baby and scrape some money together for their sandwiches. I get being on hard time, but they both had track marks and clearly on something. The quarterback was a complete to me because I am nerdy, and we had several classes together. It was such a divide between the 4 of us, them, the popular ones who were in cheap clothes, probably trying to find their next high, and my friend and I, him in a suit, and I in a gown. They didn't recognize us at first, but I heard them from an aisle over, is that Royal and Friend. A couple weeks later, I heard they had their child taken away, which sucks, as the girl was incredibly nice, just didn't have the ability to take care of a child. It really hit home that high school is not the rest of your life. Story 13. Guy I knew had a 4.0 grade score through 4 years of high school, was given awards, certificates, the whole 9 yards. I was one of his connections for coke and weed, and he would consume tremendous amounts. He went to university right out, if HS, and lasted 3 months before he completely burned out. The last time I saw him, he lived in a whole trailer on abandoned property in northern Ontario and drinks constantly. Story 14. I can't really accurately describe how hopeless I feel knowing that my best years are behind me, or the anger and self-loathing knowing that I've had so many second chances and I stepped on everyone. The shame, the terror of looking forward from today, and seeing that it's all downhill. Thoughts of suicide are pretty common. I wouldn't call myself depressed or serious about the notion, but just an occasional, is it really worth sticking around for another 50 years for Ithis? I don't really know where to start with all of this, so we'll just dive right in. I hate my friends at best. They are depressing and pathetic at worst. They are bitter, angry, and hostile. My friends are all of the people from my hometown who found themselves in similar situations for whatever reason. They didn't go to college, dropped out, or failed out. In other words, we are the losers. One of our favorite hangout spots is the apartment above my buddy's garage. He's renovating it so that he and his girlfriend don't have to live with his parents. It's funny how much of a stereotype it is, but it's not the kind of humor that makes you laugh. My old friends that went on to be successful outgrew me. One of them graduated college a year early, is going back for his master's, and opened his own business, which is doing very well. Watching him become successful was one of the hardest things I've ever done. He just kind of distanced himself from me until we don't really speak. I hate seeing him because I can clearly see the pity in his eyes. They'll tell him something good that happened, and he'll say, "Hey man, that's great," and I know he means it, but it feels patronizing anyway. Pity isn't exclusive to him. Whenever I see anyone from high school, they all give me that look of pity. My old friends, my old teachers, all of the underclassmen that are going on to college and leaving me behind. It's really shitty knowing that the goofy-looking freshman that you used to snicker at when you were a senior is doing better than you. The only ones that really get are the other burnouts and losers. I hate that I'll never be able to experience crazy college parties. I hate feeling so caged. I hate watching all of my friends drive away while my wheels spin in the mud. I hate that I'll spend my life with these cynical, selfish, depressing bastards. And I hate even more that I'm turning into one of them. I hate that I'm so angry all the time. I hate that I'll have very few conversations about politics that don't involve racist slurs. I hate that drunk is the closest I get to happy. I hate that I'm turning into my loser father. I hate that I don't even know where to start changing any of these things. I hate that it's probably too late to try anyway. Story 15, this thread, makes me happy I'm a loser in high school. Edit, I guess my definition of loser is different than actual loser. I have friends and talk to girls and do just fine, but my high school is very stereotypical in that if you aren't a cheerleader or play football, you aren't cool. I have friends, but my group of friends aren't really cool. Edit 2, apparently no matter what I do, I'm wrong. Such as life. Story 16, I went to a private high school. All the douchey, popular kids ended up going to great universities on their parents' dime and got sweet jobs and hot wives. Story 17. I always joke to my friends that I peaked too early and in high school. Not to humble brag, but I was friends with kids, and every year, almost all my teachers loved me. I had a 401 Mr. North my HS name. Even in my yearbook, I had to add an additional 6 pages because there wasn't enough space for people to sign mine. I could literally pick and choose between the girls that wanted to date hook up with because there were enough that wanted me. Since then, I was an average student in college, had a decent amount of friends, and settled into my first long-term relationship after a few failed attempts. I joined a fraternity and no more sports. During college, I was diagnosed with bipolar, and that's something that I had to really learn to deal with after graduation. Got a decent job as a social worker, but I love it, and I love what I do, and I love my life. I definitely have fewer friends, but that was partially by choice. Growing older, I learned that it's literally impossible to have as many friends as I did in HS, and it's just too much effort and not worth it. I have fewer friends, but they are of better quality, and I'm glad that's how it is. It seems that life isn't as exciting, but I enjoy it just as much because there's a point where the Bruce Wayne homecoming king lifestyle suddenly stops becoming fulfilling. Yeah, it can bring temporary happiness, but I really had to take a look at my life as a whole and what I wanted to do with it. My life isn't terrible, per se, but it's certainly fairly average compared to the HS celebrity status. Story 18. A lot of people have a bitter view at people who had a good time in high school. I think it's absolutely possible for high school to be some of the best times of your life under certain conditions. Doesn't mean you're a loser adult. I mean, my parents actually trusted me as a teen, so I didn't really gain any freedom when I hit adulthood. I had already been used to going out when I wanted. Relationships were easier. I kept summer jobs, so I had tons of income. One could blow on whatever with no bills to pay. Life will never be that easy again. And I'm not lost in life or anything. Got a wonderful girlfriend. We have our own place. Live in a town I love with a circle of great friends. Adulthood is fine. It's just that the teen years felt like easy mode, I guess. I can see where people are coming from if they had parents who had them on lockdown, though. Story 19. In my high school. You were popular if you were both smart and in sports. Most of the most popular guys are now off doing some pretty interesting things. One guy is a teacher in Thailand. Another guy has a master's from Cambridge in astronomy and is working on his PhD in physics at Harvard. My school was a little different, I guess. Story 20. I had a friend who I played baseball with all through school until high school. He became huge. I was fairly popular and involved in different sports, so it was never towards me. But he was just to everyone, it seemed. Fast forward a few years, he had dropped out of college and came to a party I was throwing at my college. He ended up with a few other friends from our hometown. It's a large city around the keg, and started bawling about how his life sucked, and he has no friends anymore because everyone's in college and nobody in our hometown likes him. I feel sad thinking about it. But then I still hear he acts the same way nearly 10 years after HS. Story 21. Private school in Germany. Most of the popular kids went into economics. One of them keeps making startups and selling them. High school in rural Florida. One of them just finished some kind of dental school type undergrad. Happy for her. Most of the popular girls went on to become mums, primarily. Even the smart but slightly awkward one got her degree and then became a full-time mother. Sixth form in England. One guy keeps going on trains without tickets and getting caught. He's also some sort of EDL type now. One girl graduated from uni a few days ago and is hosting entrepreneurship workshops. One is doing psychology at the same university I went to. Story 22. Was popular all through high school. I partied a lot, drank drugs as often as possible. I had a girlfriend every month. To maintain my popularity, I focused all my time on my appearance and hanging out with people daily. My grades suffered, but whatever, I was cool. I ended up having a kid when I was a senior. Grades were too bad to go to college, had a drug problem, and no one wanted anything to do with me. Oh, plus I was a dishwasher at Denny's. I didn't realize the moment you graduate, nobody cares about high school. Luckily now I have a good job, and am engaged with 2 kids. Story 23. There was a few years after high school where I thought that I had peaked, but I grew out of that. High school for me was a lot of good memories, but nothing more than that. I was a complete back then. Story 24. As a 33-year-old woman. May I say to you teenagers out there, for S sake, stay away from the tanning bed. 2 of the most beautiful girls I went to school with now appear to be beat-up leather handbags. They're only in their early 30s kiddos that will beat you up. Also smoking. You want to tan and smoke and not look 20 years older than your contemporaries. Well, too bad. Story 25. Pretty frustrating at times. In school, I represented my school in every sport and was in the top set for all my classes because I was respected for both my sporting and academic qualities. I got on with everyone and had a great time. Unfortunately, I moved away from my friends for college and university, and you actually had to put effort in to get those top grades. I realized this too late. Whilst I certainly didn't fail or drop out, I could definitely fell short of my capabilities. After graduating, finding a decent job was difficult due to the region I was living in. Eventually stumbled into a good opportunity, but it required me to move to the other end of the country, away from family and friends. Decided to take the plunge, and am still working here 2 years on, doing more hobbies than ever, networking and making connections. Made some great new friends, but still the new guy in my social groups. One of the most frustrating things is my position at work. I know I'm doing a good job and constantly taking on new responsibilities, but there's very little recognition due to the obscurity surrounding my specific role in the company. To compound this, I see colleagues around me who are inept at their jobs and yet earn a significant amount more. Although I suppose this is something most people can relate with early in their professional career. Story 26, it's epic. At school I got straight A's, was in the first 15, athletics captain, was on the debate team, the chess team, the bridge team, house captain, prefect, got some girls, got some guys, staff loved me. Dinner ladies loved me, extra sticky toffee pudding. Other students loved me, some of them it was great. Then I went to university and was no longer the smartest kid there. I was no longer the best at everything. And the more I tried to be, the more I realized you can't be a jack of all trades. Then I got a job and realized you need to work really hard to be the best. And I still wanted hobbies and interests and to date and go out. And that's not compatible with being the best at your job. Then I realized, boom, you don't need to be the best at everything. You don't even need to be the best at one thing. The world doesn't care. And more importantly, your friends and family don't care. So now I'm coasting thanks to my previous good results, earning a good wage with a beautiful woman at my side. Maybe I'll make a go of something and be the best again. Maybe I won't. Maybe you'll divorce at 40. Maybe you'll dance the funky chicken at my 75th wedding anniversary. At high school, I was the best. Now I'm just pretty good. And that's okay. In fact, it's epic. Edit the guys who weren't the best at high school are now kicking mine in the job stakes. Guys I thought ID outstripped forever. Make me look like I clean toilets for a living by comparison. Props to those guys. I'm jealous of their commitment and their drive and their achievements. I wish it could have been me, but I also like the me I am. Story 27, I just want to share my story. I'm 22. In high school, I was the fat, nerdy, annoying, loud kid, and today, I am the exact same. Maybe less annoying. I went to a small high school, 500 students. I'm in Australia, BTW, everyone knew me. I wasn't popular, but I wasn't unknown. Generally, I was the class clown, and I had a small group of friends which grew as I went through high school. But I was generally friends with everyone despite getting into a few small fights. I was always academically gifted, but I was lazy and thought I was above everyone. I also got heavily involved in WoW. I got good grades in subjects I liked, and terrible grades in subjects that I didn't. I was always getting into trouble for something. I had a bit of a reputation with teachers, you could say. I even got suspended for harassment at one point. Anyway, I ended up graduating with pretty crappy grades and an entry score to basically the point where I couldn't go to university. I'm pretty sure most of the teachers didn't think I'd make anything of myself. One or two may have. So the year after high school, I went to TAFE, sort of like a community college where I studied web development. It allowed me to gain a year worth of credit and transfer into a 3-year uni course and only have to do 2 years. So I finished that and went on to uni. Uni began, and boy, was it different. I didn't have to go to class. I didn't have to do homework. It was freeing. I tried getting all my classes and lectures in my first semester, which for the most part one did. My grades were I passed, but I only just passed. I actually tried really hard that semester and felt really about it. On top of that, my childhood dog died right after my exams. It was very sudden. Found out he had about a month to live when they found he had cancer. Anyway, the next semester soon began, and my dad went to Europe for a couple months, so I had the house to myself for a long time. This was awesome. I dropped a class and went to only 3 subjects rather than 4, and one of which was an online course, so I had a very light timetable, but I ended up skipping a lot more classes. I pretty much stopped going to uni apart when I had exams assessment due, and I studied online, but even that was minimal. During this time I started smoking weed. Boy, did that change my world perspective. I became a lot less cynical and more happy. It was pretty awesome. I had a lot of friends coming over all the time, and we had a great time while my dad was away. When he returned, I still had a few weeks of classes, so I started going again. Anyway, that semester, I failed a very difficult math course, and that really sucked. The other subjects I did a bit better than a pass, which was cool. Moving on to the next year, I started a small venture with a Minecraft, which I ended up selling for a lot of money. Like, a lot 9XXXX. This was incredible. I had money. I could do whatever I wanted, but I decided to keep it saved and use it to make more money so I could one day buy my dream house. I went into the stock market and tried earning a bit of money there, which worked, but I also had a bit of a big loss, which felt heartbreaking. So I stopped that. It was like gambling a little. That's when I started doing some Minecraft hosting, and I built a hosting company for MC servers that was pretty cool. I wasn't earning massive bucks, but it was more than I would have gotten with a part-time job. But it was very much a full-time job. I also ran a server community where I was worshipped like a god. This was fun. I had people all around the country joining and having fun on my server, made a few awesome friends here. Uni started up around when this got big. I decided to not drop out. I decided to try and do the two at once, and so I did. I put in very little effort with uni, but I was getting goodish grades, better than passes, was getting a mixture of credits and distinctions. Considering how little effort I was putting in, this was great. I basically was relying on my background knowledge, which I had quite a bit from high school, TAFE, and these little business ventures. But the trouble was I wasn't learning enough. I now feel that I have quite a few gaps of knowledge with regards to IT, which sort of sucks. But anyway, I sold off the hosting company, and the Minecraft community slowly died off. This was about a year and a half after I started them. I got a little bored of it and just became a real hassle. The money was nice, but I just didn't have any time for much else. This is what I consider the peak of my life thus far, building this community and running it. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, uni went on, and I started doing some freelance web dev work, and that earned me some alright money too, and was less stressful. My grades were a bit better at this time. Basically, my grades got a lot better as I went through uni. I got a job opportunity to work for a small in-house web development team through a friend. I did this for about a month, and I hated it. I just didn't like the office environment, and it just didn't give me the freedom I liked when I worked from home. So I came to a standstill and wasn't sure what to do when I graduated. I wasn't really a master of anything, but I knew a lot about everything in IT. I always remember something my business teacher told me in high school. He told me that I'd make a great teacher. At the time I laughed and said it wasn't enough money, but when I started thinking more and more about it, I realized that maybe I would be a good teacher. So I enrolled in a couple electives so I could teach a secondary subject other than IT. It was business. I graduated, and in the following year, I enrolled into a graduate diploma in secondary education, 1-year teaching course. If you have a bachelor degree in something else, I am halfway through it, and I finished my first practical. I really enjoyed it, and I hope to make a good teacher. I'm a little worried about the professional aspect of it. I'm really struggling to act professional. It's very hard to pretend to be normal. Years of working alone and away for people really does impact how you socialize with people, lol. I'm still friends with about 3 people from high school. We hang out weekly smoking weed, doing whatever it is we enjoy, and it's alright, but I feel I'm outgrowing them quite quickly. I also have some friends from uni, but they aren't the closest friend, but they aren't acquaintances either. I just somehow feel I don't quite enjoy being around other IT-minded people. It's very hard to describe why. It's just we have very strong opinions on things, and it ends up kind of being a nerd off, and I just get over it. They're great guys, though. I enjoy seeing them on occasion, just not regularly. As for the people who I went to high school with, I'm only really going to comment on my cohort. As I know what most of them are doing, I don't really see any of them, and I keep in touch with a few through Facebook, some of which I have quite deep conversations with, which is really funny considering we haven't seen each other in years, lol. Out of about 100 people on my year level, only about 6 of us have completed a degree. Everyone who went to uni basically dropped out. A lot of the girls got pregnant, a lot. Most are working in some sort of retail job. A few have office-type jobs, secretaries and things like that. A fair few are in childcare. None of them are doing incredibly well in my eyes, but a few are doing all right. I've seen a couple get home loans with their boyfriends. As for the boys, most are in some kind of trade. They are all doing all right in that regard, but none are doing anything above and beyond. Not to sound like a cocky, but I'd say I'm probably doing better than all of them career money-wise, but I haven't had the experiences they have. Many have traveled and have formed long-term relationships, which is pretty cool. I traveled a fair bit when I was younger, so I don't have the urge as much, I suppose. Though I do have some travel plans coming up in the next few years, a lot of them like to party go clubbing. That never appealed to me. I got really into the music scene, though. I love going to gigs and throwing down as for girls. I've never had much luck. I guess it's due to my weight, but I try not to let that hold me down. In high school, I was interested in a few girls and never made it past the friendship apart with one girl who I had a small fling with, but we ended up would be much better as friends. I still talk to her to this day, and is one of those people I can just confide in, which is pretty cool, I guess. I've had a few flings with girls after high school, which has been nice. Lately, I've been having even better luck with the ladies, so I'm hoping maybe find someone for something more serious soon. But if not, whatever, I've still got plenty of time. I haven't changed much from high school, but I think I've become a nicer person. People seem to enjoy talking to me, and that's pretty cool. I've tried to become less of a dickhead. I really like to get people mad for no reason. Most of my friends still remember me as a huge, but the people who have only met me in the past year find I'm quite a nice, friendly guy to talk to. I'm not sure why I wrote all this. I sort of think I have a pretty interesting, unique story to tell. I've never quite told anyone my whole story, so I guess the randoms people of Reddit can learn a little bit about someone else's life. Edited was only in the 90K area, not 900K. I'm not that lucky, lol. Average. It's that fact that causes the most anguish.